Welcome back, everyone, to the latest edition of our Econ Talks. Obviously, Gareth and I and everyone around the country has had a pretty good break over summer. We are getting back into the swing of things. We've released our latest forecast now on how the economy is going to go. But first, Gareth, what are we seeing in the labour market? Obviously, a very key part for the economy, a real determinant of where activity is going next and also where it's gone in recent times. We did see this week, a bit of a surprising unemployment rate result. Let's unpack that one a little bit more.
Yeah, so unemployment dropping from 5.3% to 4.9% in the December quarter. So that was a good result, even compared to market expectations, and certainly a lot stronger than we were anticipating. But it's interesting when you look at the numbers. Look, job numbers only down about 9,000 from where they were pre-pandemic. That's a fantastic result compared to the dire forecast that we were thinking of back in lockdown. And we've also seen strong growth coming through in the likes of construction, which is no surprise given how the housing market has been going and how that's flowing through into residential construction activity. But yeah, just not a lot of job losses really coming through outside of tourism and to a limited extent retail there. And so, yeah, very robust result for the labour market.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of confirm some of the other figures we've been seeing around before we got the official release, very much trending in the same sort of direction. We've seen job ad numbers bouncing back quite firmly. A lot of firms out there looking for workers, and that's sort of building a bit more capacity in the labour market that we're seeing come through. We also saw in the likes of the weekly job seeker numbers a bit of a boost over the summer period. Now, that normally happens. We did see a slightly larger boost over summer than normal, but we're talking pretty marginal figures. And what we've seen instead is that although there are some people that are out of work, there's more people now that are actually getting back into the workforce. They are getting a job. I mean, you highlighted the likes of the construction sector, of course, that's been going pretty well. Some of the other numbers we've been looking at filled jobs, have also shown the likes of the public sector hiring well, the likes of healthcare and similar also moving back. And also, interestingly, that some of those tourism areas, although they're down, they have come back a bit. They're not quite as soft as we might have expected. So a bit of a firmer result there, certainly for the labour market. Very unequal in a sense. Again, we saw the likes of Māori and Pacifica unemployment actually go up this quarter. And we know that the likes of, for women and young people, those numbers in terms of employment and unemployment aren't quite as flash, but the trend, in a sense, moving in the right direction. What does that mean for the economy in 2021? What's the sort of pathway from here? And in a sense, how well have we done so far?
Yeah, so a very weak labour market was one of the key platforms in terms of our pessimism about where the economy may go through 2021. And the fact that we're not seeing that coming through in the numbers now, you're not getting sort of flow-on effects from tourism and retail into other industries and sectors to any great degree. And so with people staying in work, continuing to earn money, incomes holding up, that's good news in terms of household spending. We've seen patches of softness coming through in some of the numbers there, but certainly, it's held up again better than we might have previously anticipated. Housing market adding to consumer confidence. Obviously, there's issues there around housing affordability and how sustainable that is. But in general, the impact on household finances in terms of their incomes and balance sheets is looking pretty good overall at the moment. And so we're confident now that while we may not have rip-roaring economic growth through the course of 2021, that the concern about another recession and another wave of job losses, we've put that to one side and expecting better economic outcomes this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the differences last year was that when we were looking at the economy, we were still quite worried. We were worried those numbers weren't going to hold up. We expected that things were going to be not that great, but there was an upside risk that perhaps there wouldn't be as much carnage. Over the summer, without those job losses eventuating, without such a drop in consumer spending happening, all of those factors have sort of flipped the risk profile a bit. So now we see a much more optimistic path for the economy. There's downside risks, if we had challenges coming through from vaccines or tourism or any of those other issues, they could drag growth lower. But the pathway at the moment seems pretty strong. And in fact, I think we've said publicly, New Zealand has dodged a missile when it comes to the hit from COVID-19. Things feel very much back to normal for a lot of sectors. Of course, still some pain in parts of the economy, but also some gain in others. So on the whole, a much more optimistic, upbeat path that New Zealand seems to be treading in 2021. And again, again, we'll continue to sort of monitor those developments as we move forward. Thanks, Gareth. Always great to check in and chat, and I'll catch you and everyone else on the next edition of Econ Talks.